downtown.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, we're going to review the new album by Feist called Metals. This album, Feist is Leslie Feist, a female musician. Does a lot of singer-songwriter stuff. This is a direction that is more folk kind of campfire rock, which is what I like to call it. This is very much in the same vein. I get a lot of like Y Oak when I listen to this. It sounds like I'm tasting a wine. I even get a helplessness blues kind of Fleet Foxes vibe from this at times. And even I mentioned Noble Beast by Andrew Bridges. Yeah. A lot of strings and guitars and immaculately produced just instrumentation that I think has this austere quality to it. And coupled with Feist's iconic vocals that are just very straightforward. I think her vocals kind of set the pedestal of what all the other female artists out right now kind of stand on. They all kind of are around what Feist vocals are, with some obvious exceptions like Bjork, which we just reviewed, and other things. But I think Feist is kind of just the ideal female vocalist right now in that indie pop.
And you kind of hinted to the production, and that's one thing I actually wanted. I'm glad you reminded me because I almost forgot. I really wanted to mention was the production, particularly in the vocals. The kind of EQs and filters used here are not of what you would consider to be typical female pop vocals. There's a lot of the kind of mid-ranginess that you would hear in a lot of old-timey recordings, and I think that gives it that austere and genuine quality that you mentioned. And then the way that pairs with all the rest of the instrumentals just works really well toward the cause of the style change that she's going for, which, like you said, is towards a more folk, rootsy, kind of Americana, but yet still kind of brooding at times sound.
Make no mistake, this is a rock album. It rocks out at times.
Which is somewhat of a departure from her last album, 2007's A Reminder, which, not that it wasn't the Spice Girls by any means, but there was much more of a girl pop feel to it in a lot of the songs.
Yeah, in this album, you can tell that there's just this brooding energy to it, and that's what made me really get into this album. I started off just going, I like this album. There's some things about it that I really like, and then I just kept. It's like it's an addiction now. I just keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it. I can't stop listening to this thing. I'm full on in love with this album. Just to come out and say it, and I think I figured out why. The beats in this album, not that there's any electronic beats or anything like that, it's all, acoustic percussion. I guess there's a couple little produced beats in there, but one of the main things that I notice is that, where you have a tempo of a song that's like, the beat is always dragging. The drums are always like right on the back end of that beat, and it's long. It just gives this jazzy feel to it.
If I can jump in real quick,
go for it.
It's not only in the performance and that kind of dragging makes that staggered feel, but it's also in the songwriting, because there are a lot of songs in here that are in 3, but have a very on beat 2 feel. So rather than being in true like 3/4 for all you music nerds out there, it's more of like a 6. So it's kind of 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2, and it feels like she's dropping beats when really she's not.
And track 1, The Bad in Each Other, is a perfect example of that. And that energy is present on every single track on this album, and I love that. And it sets the stage for Feist to just completely take the sound and focus on dynamics, and she uses this energy to build the intensities of the song and then take it away and then bring it back. When you listen to track 2, Graveyard, I bet you $1 million that you are going to have goosebumps by the end of that song. And there's a number of times, track 6, The Circle Married the Line, I think that that's one of the best written songs I've heard all year long. I can't get enough of this album, and it just comes down to just high quality songwriting and total control over the instrumentation. She knew exactly what she was going for. The mood, the production, the songwriting, it all follows suit. I love it. I can't get enough of it. Tom, any criticisms that you have? I got one, but I want to know if it's the same thing.
For me, it's just a kind of a classic. Some of these songs really gripped me, and some of them didn't. And maybe it's just one of those situations where over time, those other tracks will catch up. I mean, that happens with me a lot. I know myself well enough by now that is just the case. But still, I mean, this album has potential for that. Still, there are a lot of tracks that really did jump out at me. And there weren't any that I thought were bad, at least. I will say that. So definitely check this out. You'll probably like a lot of the songs, better than I will, even.
One little thing that I did want to comment on, Feist's vocals. Like I said, I mentioned and I praised her vocal style so much, and in style and how she pulls it off here, she does a great job. But she never actually just unleashes on you. She never just. You can tell that she just has like this fantastic voice, right? But she never just lets it go and take over. Like if you listen to, you know, Dark Side of the Moon and the female vocalist in that album, and just other albums with a female voice just takes over. If you think about the Decemberists and the Hazards of Love and the both female vocalists they had for that album, just when it just takes over when you have a rocking part, that is the ultimate. It's just the ultimate rock experience, and I think that this album could have benefited for a little bit more of that. Instead, there's a couple moments where instead of doing that, she actually layers the vocals. Still works, but not quite the effect that I really desired. I really wanted her to show that ability off. Other than that, though, that's a pretty minor complaint. I really am digging this album. I'm going to keep coming back to this one, and hopefully Tom will as well. Looks like you liked it a fair amount. I'm going 86. I really loved it.
I'm going 78.
So, low 80s for an average score, which I think is a fair assessment of this. What do you guys think? Were you digging Metals? Was the luster of Metals just there for you? Please leave us a comment at www.velocitiesofmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesofmusic. Also, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. That's where we do most of our talking and getting a conversation going with our fans. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.